Welcome back to the aftermatch. Come for the rugby, stay for the aftermatch. There is only one person and one team that we are opening the show with, Beav.
Yes.
Moana Pasifika.
What a night.
My team.
Oh, yeah, it is your team
My
now, isn't
team.
it? Chiefs.
You wanted it.
Off you go, Chiefs.
You wanted
She's
it,
got
but
a new team.
you were not brave enough to do it, to make the call.
I wasn't.
What a performance.
It was.
From the entire team, it must be said.
It must be said. And sometimes you go to a game and you hope something might happen for the storylines, and then you walk away sort of flat. And I guess there was a little bit of that when Moana played the Blues at Eden Park. By that stage, they had hit a bit of form, and everyone was thinking, "Oh, this could be." Here we go, and Blues wiped the floor with them. Essentially, it did a real job on them by half
but
time.
Moana made a lot of changes for that match.
A lot of changes.
This was their top team.
This was their top team, and after 10 or 15 minutes, the way that they repelled a couple of the Blues attacks early, Blues got what they wanted. Blues got set piece inside the 20 or 30, and they didn't quite get across the line. Yep, there was a few TMO interjections in that first 15 or 20, but there was lost ball and there was loose ball that Moana would fight over a bone on Saturday night for. And you just felt there was obviously 12,000 people there, which was amazing. Amazing.
It was
crowd.
amazing.
But you just felt that as every minute ticked by and they started to grow, and Ardie's first touch was that overthrow over the back of a line out. He runs 20 or 30, but they kick down and they put pressure. All of a sudden you start to think, hang on, I think they're up for it here. And they started to believe. And a massive thing, me and you have both seen Moana in the early games, and they had these spells of really good rugby, but then had some real poor spells, and it was usually linked to when they had their set piece going. Well, I can't remember, but I reckon they would have almost gone 100% at line-out time. They had a couple of scrums that sort of creaked a bit, but their line-out every time they got. And so that just gives you possession, and therefore it gives you territory, it gives you able to dictate terms. And that's where now Moana's got to, after a performance like that, they can go into games knowing, well, we're going to get our set piece. And so if you can get your set piece, then you're in the game, and we all know what else they've got to go on top of it. But as far as an occasion and everything else, it was the, I guess, shining day that Moana essentially is born now, I reckon. Like we saw the Christchurch result, which was amazing. But to do that in front of 12,000 of your majority, your own fans, and creating fans, then they're born now. Like, they're not a team that has to play at Albany or Pukekohe in front of a couple of thousand people and hope that the opposition bring a crowd or what have you. I think now that's the start of the Moana franchise. It's brilliant.
I think the coolest thing, just talking about the crowd, was seeing the array of people there. There were people from all over Auckland, all different walks of life, all different ethnicities there supporting Moana Pasifika. It's now the Shore's team.
Yes.
It's Auckland's team.
And the Shore obviously in the early days, Harbour was a very strong province, and Auckland, and they divided them. But the Shore, from a population, from I guess geography point of view, they should probably have a team. And now, I guess indirectly, they have got a team. And it's Moana Pasifika, which is funny because obviously the jokes have been made about the Braais and that the South Africans are their number one supporters, which it's wonderful that if the Shore just adopt them, which they clearly have, it's a special little aspect now to Super Rugby.
I mean, I don't want to call you out, but there were plenty of vocal people at the start when they were moving to the Shore saying, why are they not being based out at Puke?
South Auckland, yeah.
Well, look, it's worked for them.
It has worked. But it's worked because...
The results.
Results.
Let's talk about the results.
Yep.
Crusaders away, as you mentioned. Highlanders, Hurricanes, Blues. One more New Zealand team to beat.
One more.
For any New Zealand franchise to beat the big four in a year would be massive.
Oh, if you
But for Moana, the new team in Super Rugby?
If you gave any New Zealand coach the option, hey, before a ball's been kicked, you're going to beat every New Zealand franchise, I'll take that and I'll deal with the rest later. So that's pretty impressive.
It is so impressive. And against all odds, Beav, I know you're saying that there were moments and you felt it, but to have 2 yellow cards in a match, to have a try where you felt the momentum was on a knife's edge in the second half, to be disallowed, they had everything go against them.
I mean, I don't mean to turn this into a bit of a mockery, this analysis, but when has there ever been more of a need for our blind eye card? The guy stepping out.
Yeah, but Also, the negotiations that went on after that on the field.
Now,
Come on.
Now, I don't like getting referees because it's a job that I'd never do. But when you've got two of the world's premier referees, Angus and
Bet O'Keefe. Bet O'Keefe just needed to put the flag up.
No, yeah, of course. You know, you can debate whether he should have got that or not. But first of all, the fact that they were talking to each other and goes, is that within protocol? I don't know. Is that within protocol? It felt like no one knew what this... And I'd never heard the word protocol being used.
With the referee. I mean, it's all because of the World Cup final, though, isn't it?
I mean, I know people have broken protocols, but I've never heard referees talking about it. And Ardie was dead right. Well,
only go back three phases because he was involved in the disallowed try.
He was involved in the game that changes history as far as the three phases. Was it Richie Moanga or someone like that scored a try in front of us? Well, where I was sitting at the time in that second half. Aaron Smith of the World Cup final. And
clearly you'd had a few broken protocols.
I was still working, actually. I think I was going on the big gym show after that. But also... that was the three-phase thing, which they stuffed up right royally in a World Cup final. And
which is what Ardie was questioning them about.
But apparently that rule's gone now, the three-phase thing.
Oh.
And so that's why Ardie's like...
So this is where the protocol came in.
Look, my opinion on that matter, and I don't want to get sidetracked from what was an amazing night, is if it doesn't get picked up, it doesn't get picked up. Human error, move on.
Yeah. Instead of having a big debate about it.
That was an hour or two ago in the game.
And we're still waiting for protocol.
And there was a moment. It was a moment. And that's the only thing at the moment with I just said moment 5 times in the last minute, but that's the only thing with the rugby at the moment, and I said it again, is guys are scoring tries and you start to think, right, how did that happen? Because every try was reviewed. Oh, could it be disallowed? And you're looking around. So let's hope that protocols have been sorted out this week, and even our two best whistleblowers know what's going on, because it was a very interesting situation.
I'm going off topic here, but just quickly, talking about tries at a moment. Mark Nwangani Tawasi's try for the Roosters in the NRL on Friday night.
Yes.
How did rugby let that guy go? Imagine him playing in the Lions series this year.
Yeah, he'd be handy.
Freakish.
Well, it appears it was a straight swap between him and Joseph in the end, doesn't it? But I
don't think he would have been getting the same sort of money.
No. I think there's a significant difference. And that may be a reason why someone decided to leave the ship. But the thing about that is he scored a wonderful try. For those that haven't seen it, the former Wallabies winger, he did a hop and a little grubber. But Tuamoi Falau's second try in the second half.
Special. What do you think?
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
The kid is special.
Oh, the touch of the grubber. But I'm trying to think, he had to beat someone first.
Bodie.
Yeah,
he beat Bodie.
He beat Bodie first, and Bodie's a wonderful defender.
Bodie.
I mean, a lot of us tens can't tackle, but Bodie can. And he did Bodie, and then the wee grubber, beautiful.
That kid's got something about him.
Confidence too.
He's got confidence about him.
But
a nice confidence.
Yeah. So it was an amazing night. For me, the big moments were around the big player.
Okay, well, we'll talk about him. We'll give him his credit.
Yes.
How many big moments did he have in that match? The clearance kick?
Yeah, that was nice. The spiral.
The 60-metre clearance kick.
And it was actually off sort of balance. He was sort of going backwards to then go forward, and then busted out the 60-metre clearance kick, which was a spiral. The other chip kicks he put in.
How come he's all of a sudden got now a left foot kicking game?
And it's not just having the ability to do a grubber here and there, which goes on behind the line. And if you get a grubber in, essentially you're relying on the bounce to do some funny things that a rugby ball can do and make it hard, and who knows what will happen. His little left foot chip under advantage, the touch of that to be able to do that and regather, like that is pretty phenomenal to be able to do that, as well as we've highlighted before, he goes and does all this big forward stuff.
That chip kick into 4 Blues players that he regathers. Dalton tries to tackle him. He stays on his feet and gets the offload against one of the best defenders of the competition.
Yeah, I don't think you can underestimate the delicacy of that chip kick. So you go out in the backyard later on, folks, and try and do a chip kick as small as that. So you can do a chip kick that you can get on the end of, which will take you probably about 4 or 5 metres, and you'll get on the end of it, and your chip kick might go sort of 2.5, 3 metres high, sort of like the height of an crossbar on the goalpost. His went literally skimmed the head of the opposition defenders, and then was able to get it within about 2 metres of getting through them.
So was it a fluke?
No, you can't say there's anything flukish about what he's putting out at the moment. But I'm telling you, to do that is ridiculous.
Okay, everyone needs to go and try it.
Yes.
And see how small you can do a chip kick.
And regather. And think that someone like Paddy or Dalton was standing in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, some of his stuff, the ball carrying, like he's got all these highlight reels at the moment. He got a ball at one stage in the second half when momentum was starting to swing for Moana. And he got it almost from a standing start off the back of a line out, and he just went smack into a prop. And I didn't pass physics. Actually, I never took physics because I didn't actually pass School C science. But there's something around weight and velocity and all the rest of it, power. There's an equation, I believe, Kirsten. Clearly you didn't do physics.
A equals MC squared.
Okay, maybe you did. But he's gone into a prop.
It's nothing to do with it.
He's gone into a prop, and then you'd think, oh, well, he's going to be able to wrap him up physically. He just sort of just blasted through it from a standing start. And that's the thing about him, like his power. Like I'd love to know if he's one of these guys that doesn't do gym.
We asked you to check with your mate about 5 rounds ago.
I'll give Bones
what
a call.
Does he do? What does he squat? What are his gym stats telling us?
Because
you were supposed to get this info for us, Beav.
Sorry, I'll ring Bones after this. But sometimes some of those sorts of players don't even just sort of go to the gym and go for the sake of ticking that box. Like the South African boys always talk about Burger, Skug. Yeah. he like obviously one of the world's strongest rugby players, but weight-wise, the boys say, Ardie, just had a laugh in there and that was about it. So, Ardie's strength is just, it's not gym strength, like what he's doing out there. Like you can't be doing that, like that. A bench press doesn't help you do what he does. Like the amount of time that he is able to carry through. And the other great thing that this week's Jonah has achieved is he's brought a couple along with him. Like miracle. Well, honestly, and it's great that he's a Samoan and he's going to play for Samoa. But I tell you what, he would be Scott Robinson's.
Don't say it because we can't even go there.
He would be an All Black right now.
Okay, well you just dropped it. He is our Jonah Award winner for round 14 of Super Rugby. Ardie Savea.
Well, yeah, it was a pretty easy one this one, wasn't it?
That means he goes outright winner. He was...
Hang on, no, we're not like... No, he's on 3.
Yeah, yes. Outright winner right now. He was first equal with Damien McKenzie.
I thought you were doing like the other competition where they've already given it to Ardie.
No, that's a joke. But Ardie right now, outright number 1 on 3 points.
And rightfully so. This is the season for the ages.
I was just going to ask you this. Here's a few comments from social media.
Yep.
I saw this one. Ardie Savea is better than Kieran Reid, Jerome Cato, Kyle Tremaine, Jerry Collins, Michael Jones, and the rest. Only one All Blacks loose forward was ever better than Savea, and his name is McCaw. Ardie Savea, 2025 season, does it go down as one of the greatest seasons ever, or does it depend on the finals series? And when he is done, will he be talked about in the Richie McCaw echelon?
So it's a 2-part question you've given me there. His season this year. So, Saturday night was a performance like no other, but he's put in about 5 or 6 performances this year that I reckon have been great. And with that all combined, it is the season like no other from a player, I don't think, like no other, as far as continued dominating excellence. Someone said there, does it matter about the finals? No, it doesn't, because for me, he went to a franchise that had won maybe 4 games in 2 years.
7 in 3 years. They've now won 6 games this season.
And I was one that at the start of the year said, yep, Ardie might be worth a couple of victories. He ain't going to put them in the finals. Well, right now, he's put them in the finals, and I'd bank them to get there. We're banking things. So, Ardie's season, I don't think we've seen a season like it from a player. No, I think it's just been ridiculous, considering he's gone into a franchise who most rugby people in this country at the start of the year would have said, oh, he's not going to get much help there. So therefore, that was wrong of us, because clearly there's been guys who have just emerged this year who have taken the game to another level. But secondly, it highlights the fact he wasn't getting dropped into the Crusaders here.
Yeah.
He hasn't been dropped into the Chiefs with 10 All Blacks or a forward pack laden with All Blacks. Like he is he has gone in there with guys who have been finding their way in Super Rugby, who are legitimately probably NPC players who now have taken that NPC experience and their previous Moana Pacific experience and just elevated themselves.
Moana has created a movement, not just with the fans and with the competition. You know, you get people like me that are now like, Moana, Moana to win. I'm all in on this team.
Yeah.
But what about with players to come back from overseas? Do you think he's created a movement where other top Pacific players, you know, there were rumours about Liba Sapawaga coming back to play for Moana, Richie Moaga. These guys didn't make that call. Ardie made the biggest and bravest call to be the beacon, to be the light in this team and to lift this team.
Game changer.
Game changer.
Yep.
It was so brave of him. Do you now think others see the potential and follow suit?
Oh, I'm sure. I am sure there's conversations being had from others. Even probably, I don't know how New Zealand Rugby Union plays it, because obviously it's not a New Zealand team, but it is a New Zealand team.
So they're allowed 4 All Blacks.
Well, I would imagine within 2 years that'll be full.
That's their quota. They're allowed 4 All Blacks.
Well, I'm picking that'll be full very soon.
Is it that amazing? That's what he's done.
Yep.
He's done that.
Yeah, and I think, and look, we can only judge from, me and you have not been inside the camp, but from what we're hearing, what you see on the socials, what you see on TV, it looks like a pretty special environment to be a part of.
Yeah.
So I would imagine Ardie's probably on a phone call to someone saying, it's not bad.
The other thing that we need to talk about is the genuine beef going on between the Blues and Moana Pasifika. The Battle of the 09.
The 09.
The 09.
Which is ironic because
Moana represents the Pacific?
Yes, and also the fact that I think my parents were the last people still with a landline, and it started with an 09. And, of course, the reason it's for those people who don't live in New Zealand, 09 is the dialing code for Auckland City. So that's what the 09's been based off. And yet we don't have landlines anymore, do we?
No, we've got 021s or 027s.
Yeah, we're all mobiles. So it's funny that we've gone back in time to create this rivalry. I love it.
The Battle of the 09, as you mentioned.
The landline. The Battle of the landline.
Tana Umanga, after the match, mentioned that he didn't need to get his troops up for this game because they'd been hearing the narratives that had come out of the Blues camp after the Blues heavily beat them earlier in the season, and that was enough.
Yes.
He wouldn't say what, but someone has dug up a tweet.
Yes. And so can you just clear this up? This tweet wasn't noticed at the time. It was dug up.
This has been dug up. Receipts have been kept for the 09 landline. Receipts have been kept. One H222 tweeted, "Keep on doubting us. We just picking the right time. Don't care whose side you on. There's only one team in the 09.
I love that. So you continue the story, but I love that. That's brilliant.
Well, Moana Pasifika have basically quoted him that's saying they represent the Pacific, not the 09. And now they are kings of Auckland for the next year, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I just think our rugby needs this. Like, brilliant from Hoskins and then brilliant from Moana. Like, create a rivalry. We don't need nicely nice. It's brilliant.
You can just imagine how cock-a-hoot the Blues were when they beat Moana earlier in the season. They would have been beating their chest. They would have been, this is our house. This is the 09. We own this. You imagine how they're feeling now.
Oh, but I like it.
Out of the 6.
But don't go changing. Don't go changing. We need this. Like, this is genuinely a rivalry now. And, like, for years, obviously, I was in the Chiefs in Waikato, and of course we hated Auckland and the Blues, but we had to manufacture stuff as well. Like there wasn't too many tweets going out, so we had to manufacture stuff.
I don't think the bird existed then.
No, we were literally still landlines. Yeah, so we were bringing up the 07s.
Were you 07?
Yeah, we were the 07s coming out to the 09s. So we didn't have any of that sort of tweeting and carrying on. But I think it's brilliant. Like I know people, Hoskins' very polarising character himself, but play on and keep this stuff going.
Oh, and I think a lot of it, the credit has to come down to not just the players, but the social media teams.
Yes.
The Blues and Moana Pasifika's social media teams, all year they've been chipping the opposition teams and creating this drama on social media, and it is brilliant. You can't help but be entertained by looking at both of their channels.
But the Blues are very good themselves on the socials.
They're very good.
I remember when the New South Wales League team won their first series in yonks, and they said something about the real Blues have won it, and the Blues rugby team said, "Oh, what, you've won 2 games in a season, well done." And I just thought that was brilliant too.
Oh, the responses.
The other thing, I know for a fact that the Chiefs, I think, got a little bit spicy around the fact that just before they played the opening game this year, I think the Blues put out their rings.
Yes, the championship rings.
I think that they used that in their motivation, but they didn't come out and say anything about it afterwards. But I think that's the sort of stuff that it's great. Just keep building it.
The other thing that's been fantastic, we've already talked about it, but it's the Moana Pasifika team song, that rubbish bin, that has become an icon of Moana Pasifika.
Branded up now.
Branded and got broken on the weekend. The wheelie bin. The old school '09 wheelie bin has been rolled out, but it got us thinking about iconic team songs.
Yes.
The one that sticks out in my head, and it's not a team song, but it is a nation song, Zombie.
The one the
The
Irish
Cranberries
adopted.
at the last World Cup.
And talk about keeping receipts. The South Africans kept receipts on that one.
Oh, yeah, they did. Remember they changed it into Rassie?
Yes.
Rassie's in your head.
I enjoyed those receipts that were kept on that one. Tough to go past Mulu or La.
How did that one go?
Essentially what I've just said.
That's the football song.
No, it's like it talks about the river. The river runs deep. I just about broke out in the song. I need about 15 Waikato drafts on them before I start. But
we need to change the record time.
Change the record time, but it's a great song. The Highlanders.
The Southern Man.
The Southern Man, but then they've had they obviously had
The Joey Wheeler.
inspired Naholo one.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, well, Joe Wheeler at the Barracuda as
The
well.
Barracuda was brilliant.
So the Landers actually probably need an album now.
They do
Because you
have an
think the
album.
Southern Man...
Probably 2 parts as
They've
well.
got the original Otago Highlanders song, which you're trying to get me to sing as well, but I'm not going to do that after I've almost broken out to Mulu.
What about Waltzing Matilda?
Yes,
Iconic.
It is iconic. Do they still do it?
I haven't heard it for a while.
So they used to literally get 80,000 at Stadium Australia to sing it when the All Blacks would be doing the haka. And so you can imagine, and obviously it's 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and it's like they're obviously in feverish sort of mood. It was like helped to build the atmosphere, because obviously there's always a storyline around the haka when the All Blacks are playing the Wallabies about how to respect it or don't respect it and all the rest of it. And for a while there, they were just singing Waltzing Matilda through it.
And England would just continuously for 80 minutes.
Sweet Chariot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's around Twickenham too. The Welsh, they would be singing something in Welsh, so I couldn't really tell you what they were singing. But they're very good singers at the stadiums there.
Reuben Thorne.
Yeah, I mean, creativity, not huge, but well done. They got to sing it a lot during my
People
time.
still sing it.
Yeah, so fair play.
Any others that stand out to you?
Trying to think. The Hurricanes, didn't the Hurricanes do a cool one last year where they were referencing all their old
Was
superstars?
that Wellington or the Hurricanes?
Both.
Oh, was it both?
Yeah. No, but a different song. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Hurricanes definitely started it
They
last
talk
year.
about Tata Umaga and Jerry Collins.
Yeah, so no, that was pretty cool, the Hurricanes one. So, no, I can't think of too many others.
Adds something, doesn't it? It all adds something.
Ironically, I never quite understood the Japanese clubs ones that I played for. But
Did they have them?
No.
On the Hurricanes,
Yes.
before we get into their game, an all-time 15. Since we're talking about some of the legends
Yes.
that are making up their team song, the all-time 15s have been going bonkers, and I think that's because of the players that Beaver's actually leaving out of his all-time 15s. We've obviously ticked the Chiefs,
Yep.
left a few out
Yep.
of your Freds.
Yep.
Went to the Blues, again, left a few out, and people are outraged
Yes.
that Jerome Cato wasn't in there. We'll get to those comments shortly.
Are we going to get to that later?
Or do you want to do it now?
I'll address it now.
Okay.
So when I picked
You've seen all the comments.
I've seen a few.
So you can address a few people and explain to them your reasonings why.
Individually? Do I need to go at them? No. So when you're picking these teams, it's not like I've got the squad available for me to run out next week. I've got to pick them on what they did for the said Super Rugby team in said number. So a lot of you...
This is where he's justifying himself.
A lot of you, and if I can name a few, Hansi was one. He got into me. Elson was another. Look, there's plenty of you.
There was a lot.
Pixie Potato, you're another. You all mentioned Michael Jones and Jerome Kano.
Yes.
And, of course, Michael Jones made his name as this outrageously athletic number 7 who changed the game forever. And, you know, you talk to anyone of a generation, he's arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest rugby player we've ever come across. By the time the Blues came into existence, he'd had about, I don't know, multiple knee operations, and he was playing 6 and on the blind side for them. Hence why I could not have a Michael Jones, Jerome Kano mix.
You just couldn't do it.
Well, no, because we're picking a all-time team for that Super Rugby
Yeah, but
team
you've been
in
known
those
to bend the
jerseys.
rules, Beav, and break protocol.
Not when I'm picking my all-time 15s, I haven't. So I have had to stick true.
Okay, so you're justifying yourself there.
Yeah, but to be fair, can I just we shout out to a lot of you here, and I'll mention my father here, because he loves listening to the podcast, and he's like, "Oh, I'm listening to your looking forward to the Blues all-time team." I was, "Oh yeah," and he goes,
Was he disappointed?
"Well," he said, and he goes, "Oh, JK would be in there." I was like, "Excuse me,
As coach.
get your time period right here, folks." Like, Super Rugby started in '96. He said,
So they're forgetting.
He said, "Oh, who's your midfield?" And I said, "My midfield." And he said, "All about Joe Stanley." I said, "Joe Stanley, respectfully, All Black great and Auckland great, but he wasn't around in Super Rugby." So just make sure you've got your timelines too sorted, people, when you start trying to have a crack at our all-time teams.
Okay, a few others that were mentioned multiple times.
Yep.
Troy Flavel.
Yes. Flavs would have had to have been lock consideration, and when we've gone Robin Brooke and Ali Williams, tough. It's a tough field. Oh, I also left out Paddy and Borage.
People noticed.
Yeah.
Xavier Rush.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Zinzan, yep.
Piriwepu.
Pity at the Blues. I think Pity we the first to admit that his best years were at the Canes.
Howlett. Dougie.
Yeah.
People can't believe you left Dougie out, who, as we've mentioned in recent weeks, held the Super Rugby try-scoring record for decades.
Are they coming at me about him not being on the wing or 15?
Just not being in your team.
Because I tell you
Just
what,
left out.
Breakdown and Sky Sports commentator Mulaina, considering he defected from the Blues.
Yeah, you should have really dropped him.
Yeah, dropped him and put Howlett in. Yep.
Now that you've justified your actions and not breaking protocols,
On the Blues.
all-time, Beavers all-time, Hurricanes 15.
Yeah, so I've just wound you all up on the Blues, so we'll go again with the Hurricanes. And again, like the Blues, try picking a backline out of that mob, considering the All-Stars that they've had. But
Well, there's some that are absolute lock-ins.
They're all lock-ins, but there's quality that have been left out. But I'm going to name the forward pack first. And when I think Hurricanes early doors, there is one man bursting out that you just have to have. He was a poster boy like few props have ever been in the game of rugby, and that was Bull Allen. Had his own, you talk about songs, he had his own chant when he got the ball, one off a ruck from a halfback. Essentially, it was the crowd chanting "Bull." So he not very imaginative, not as creative as some of the ones we've talked about.
As Reuben Thorne.
It's close to a Reuben Thorne creation, but ironically, Reuben Thorne's from Taranaki too. There you go. Might have gone to school with Bull, don't know. But Bull Allen is my number one.
Yes.
Number two, and this was an extremely tough field, but then had to go with the one and only Dane Coles.
Colsey.
Colsey beats out Horry and Norm Hewitt.
Why Colsey?
Changed the game for hookers, really, didn't he? And as far as a hooker and the Hurricanes, you think flair. You think magic, you think throw it around. You need Colsey out there, don't you? So Colsey beats out. Luckily, I don't think Horry on his farm has ever heard of a podcast. He certainly hasn't heard of social media, so I won't have to worry about it next time I see him that I've gone Colsey. So Colsey. And the next one, tough one, but I've gone my era. I've gone Tialata. Had a wonderful career, All Blacks, went in, killed it in Toulouse. And then obviously Hurricanes legend.
I just don't think you want to front up to these guys.
Oh, no, because I'm more likely to see Lomax when I go commentating, but he beats out
Good luck
Lomax.
to you.
Yeah, thank you. No problem there.
Who's scarier, Lomax or Tialata?
Well, Lomax's dad, did you see him play league?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's probably
Ruthless.
scares me out of all of them, to be fair. Johnny Lomax. But, yep, there's your front row Hurricanes fans. Allen, Coles, Tialata. The locks was tough.
Because?
Well, it's such a... they haven't had, like, all black sort of greats, but they've had a lot of very, very good locks. So I was siphoning through them. And I've ended up with Jace Eden, Pig Eden,
Yep.
and Fish Tito.
Pig and fish.
Another couple of Taranaki boys. The unlucky one out of all of that, Thrushy.
Yep.
So he just misses out to the pig and the fish. Loose forwards, wow. Whew. What are you laughing at? The pig and the fish?
Pig and the fish.
Well,
Beav's hunting here.
we've got pig and a fish, and we've got a bull up there too. So it's a hell of a pack. But
the loosies.
So
And this is where it does start to get scary and intimidating and
Yes.
just leave me out of this.
okay, well, I'll leave you out. Okay, right.
You've been in this mixer though.
I've been in this. So can I just say, if you think Hurricanes loose forwards, you wanted to talk intimidating a while back.
Yes.
And who scared you. There was once a loose forward trio running around of Jerry Collins at 6, Chris Marsoe at 7, Rodney Soiolo at 8. Look, there might have been better loose forward trios, not many better, but there's none scarier.
No.
And like if you're someone who's 85 kgs who likes to think he can throw a rubbish dummy inside and scoot through, you had a few sleepless nights going up against that loose forward trio.
Did they get you?
Oh yeah. But often shake my hand and say after the game, oh, keep having a crack. So Jerry was, funny enough, Jerry was probably the nice one out of them. Marsoe, if he got you, you didn't know if you were losing your head or a rib at times. So Mussy was real scary. But as a loose forward trio, the three of them, very, very intimidating. And I'm reluctant to break it up, but I'll throw a few names at you.
Oh, but wait, are they your three?
I'm trying to work out how I break that up because
You're breaking it up.
I'm gonna break it up. Jerry's locked in at 6. Philo Tiatia
Yes.
is an 8. Was an 8 of the highest quality. Victor Vito, of course, played 8 for the Hurricanes when they won their inaugural and only title. And then you've got a young Ardie Savea at 7.
So,
with that in mind, I go Jerry at 6, I go Ardie at 7, and I go Philo Tiatia at 8.
oh, I don't think many people would have picked that combination.
I mean, you could have any one of 5 combinations, I reckon, between Victor, Ardie, Philo, Marsoe, Soiolo, Jerry. I mean, that's not even mentioning Kupu Vanisi, who had some outstanding years for them too at the Hurricanes. Tommy Wardrums, of the world.
Yeah.
There's some quality there. So, phenomenal. Moving on to the back line.
Please. Doesn't get any easier.
Does not get any easier, but I can't go past my pal. My pity weepu at 9.
Your roommate from 2011.
My roommate, he's my 9. Obviously, honourable mentions to the great TJ Pitanara.
I can't believe you've gone pity over TJ.
Well, Pity's still likely to hook me up power and stuff like that, so I'm going to go that route.
Pity, are you hooking him up?
Yeah, Pity, I've picked you in your time team. And the other one who needs to mention is Jason Spice, wonderful halfback for the Hurricanes. His combination with David Howell, iconic. And there's another name that unfortunately won't get selected because of some other fella, but David Howell, when you think Hurricanes 10s, is one of the first thing that comes to mind. But, of course, the Hurricanes 10 of the title of the man that got them home was Beauden Barrett. So 9-10, Pity and Bodie.
How does that go as a combo? Because you think combos when you're picking your all-time 15s.
There's some play in that. You're not going to be left sitting on your seat at the cake tin when those two are going at it. They will roll the dice. The back line is ridiculous. The second back line would be ridiculous. Probably the third back line would be ridiculous. But I'm gonna take you through a few that have missed. Julian Savea, the bus.
You've missed him.
He's missed. Jose Gear, missed. Alama Ramir, missed. O'Halloran, Steinmetz, Alatini, Nehi Milner Scudder.
So you're just
Corey
saying this because
Jane.
you don't want people to call you out. Beaver hasn't forgotten these players.
Not forgotten.
He's just dropped them.
Lomi Fa'atau was brilliant for the Hurricanes. But listen to this backline, folks, and tell me, Piriwipu, Bowden Barrett, in the number 11 jersey, Jonah Lommel has to be there because he played great for the Hurricanes. I know I didn't pick him for the Chiefs, but he did play well for the Canes. Mar at 12, Conrad at 13, Tana Umanga at 14, and the one and only Christian Cullen at 15. Couldn't
argue.
When you can't fit a Julian Savea, Corey Jane, those midfielders that I mentioned, 5 of them, I think I wrote down, ridiculous. That's not even mentioning a Tamati Ellison.
Yeah.
A Geordie Barrett. You know, it is a ridiculous group when you think about it.
That's impressive.
How have they only won one title, Hurricanes?
When you
Jeez.
let's be honest, I don't think the Chiefs' all-time 15 compares to the Blues or Hurricanes. So if you're going a straight head-to-head between the Hurricanes all-time and the Blues all-time, who wins that game? I'm going Canes.
That Blues pack. I mean, that's a great pack. But it depends. Weather conditions. We'll have to talk weather conditions.
We'll play it under the roof.
Oh, if it's under the roof, well, yep.
Canes.
Hurricanes more chance. But that means you're having to play at a neutral venue because we all know there's no roof at the Cape.
Yeah, this is the European Cup of New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
We're
Good.
neutral.
Good.
Okay, great team. Let's talk about the Hurricanes 2025 edition.
Yep.
Because that was a really important win for them over the weekend against the Highlanders. 82nd minute, last gasp, Cam Roigard just pulling together a couple of pieces of magic in that second half to get the Hurricanes home.
Yeah, they got in there. First of all, the Highlanders, you know, very little to play for, but geez, they pulled out something.
And geez, you wanted them to win that game.
For me, it just highlights that you can have everything in the world, you can have all the fancy toys, you can have your game plans and all the rest of it. But if you've got attitude and intent, then you're going to go a long way. And the Highlanders were so good for 78 minutes. And at the end of the day, their attitude and their intent got them to where it got them. And then it was just a little couple of moments which, you know, you can say, oh, you know, a little bit more experience or a little bit more class here and there, and they get home. Like, they were so good. And so you got to take your hat off to them. The Hurricanes, I had to watch it 2 or 3 times to get my head around this one because at first of all, you thought, were the Hurricanes there? But they were there. They were physically there, and they were dishing out as much as they were receiving. Where the Hurricanes, I think, would be looking at their review and looking at their tape this week is their missed opportunities.
Hugely.
I think you said 4. I thought 5 absolute walk-ins, clear-cut tries.
Passes that just went out.
Is this the passing let them down? And yep, they came back after a week off the bye. But sometimes it's either 2 ways there, isn't it? You either come back sharp as, refreshed, or you come back a little bit off. But they weren't off physically. And that was the thing. The Highlanders just fronted physically and got into them. The Highlanders midfield, my word, like obviously this year Tava Nawa has grabbed all the headlines, and Tava Nawa was great again.
Tanielu
Talia.
Yeah.
What a performance.
Yeah.
What a performance. Incredible. I mean, if there wasn't a guy called Ardie Savea, he would have been in the conversation for our Jonas this week.
Yeah.
That was an amazing
very,
performance.
very good.
And I mean, look, so much, and rightfully so, has been said about Higgins and Proctor in the last 2 weeks. Geez, I think they got probably the other midfield got them this week. And it was a lot I haven't seen Talia play that well. Like, he's been great, you know, all the way through, but that was a performance like none other.
The Hurricanes had a number of injuries.
Yep.
And it brought Brett Cameron onto the game very early.
Yep.
He was supposed to be out for the entire season.
Yeah.
9 to 12 months. Came back after 7 from that ACL injury.
Yep.
Played a couple of games in the lead up at fullback. They've got a conundrum.
It's a conundrum, all right.
They have a conundrum now because Ruben Love is the reason why they've won the last few weeks and a number of other reasons.
And look good.
But what about Brett Cameron in 40 minutes of rugby coming back from a horrific knee injury, Beav?
Yeah, those knee injuries, they reckon not just
Look at Quinn Tupaia. It took him 2 years.
Yeah, it's not just the time that you take to get on the field. It's another sort of 6 months, 9 months before you're actually back to full pace and moving freely, agile, what have you. It's a conundrum, all right.
He was good.
He was good. He looked sharp. So now it is a case. You're not weighing up Love, Cameron. You're weighing up Cameron, Harkin.
But the three of them, when they were on the field together, and they were 10, 15 and on the wing, they looked so dangerous when the three of them were playing right next to each other.
Yeah, full strength, I don't think they put Harkin on the wing. I think it's... Well, I mean, they're pretty well. Well, mind you, they've had some injuries.
They've lost Kenny Naholo. Balin Sullivan was injured over the weekend, and so was Nani Punivai.
So maybe they have got an easy way out for a
while. But if you're playoffs and you're a do or die match, what are you doing with those players? Because all three of them have been really good.
I think it depends if the Hurricanes coaches have faith in the fact of where that group was heading and how they were playing with Ruben Love at 10. Brett Cameron's wonderful insurance policy there because they know that he's going to come on, he's going to be accurate, he's going to be able to dictate terms, he's going to be able to call for shots. That might be a luxury that they have on the bench. And they say, nah, we were going where we sort of unexpectedly got to with the Love, Harkin sort of axis that they were running. Access means you can obviously get in through the door. But so you just wonder what the coaches are thinking around that.
And it's game plan. It's all game plan related because they play two different styles of rugby.
Correct, they do. Reuben will play I think, more expansive game, which do you look at the Hurricanes and think that's how they're going to get
high
it
risk,
done?
high reward.
You've got it, for them now, they've got to look, how are we going to win the title? What way are we going to winning the title? And if you think you can do it, maybe with a little bit more conservatism, be a bit more accurate, then maybe Brett Cameron's your man. But if you think you're going to have to roll the dice at times, and maybe we don't have the ability to go punch for punch with the Crusaders playing that sort of trench warfare game in a wet night in Christchurch, then maybe they have to go Ruben Love.
And by the look of it, they're going to finish in the bottom half of the six, so they are going to have to play one of those.
They're not going to get to the fourth. Oh, but they can get to fourth still, can't they?
They can get to fourth, but remember how the first
correct.
round is not a quarter final, it's a 3-quarter final. It's
with a knockout situation for 2.
And a lucky loser. Let's talk about this because we actually had a comment. Someone asked us to explain how the final series actually works because they were really confused by it. Jimmy Kipp. So how the Super Rugby playoffs works, to my understanding, Beav,
yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, top 6 teams make the playoffs at the end of the regular season.
Yep.
1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
So if we're going on the table right now, 1, 2, and 3 host the first round. Brumbies, Chiefs, and Crusaders will host the first round against the Reds, the Hurricanes, and Moana Pasifika.
1-6, 2-5, 3-4.
Exactly. Now, if the top 3 teams win, they go straight through to the quarterfinals. There is semi-finals, sorry. There is one extra place.
Yep.
And whoever is the highest seeded lucky loser makes that semi-final spot. So if the Brumbies lose, then they get an extra week. If the Chiefs lose, they get an extra week if the Brumbies won their match. But if all top 3 teams win, then the 4th position, which right now would be the Reds, if the Reds lost their quarterfinal, top 3 teams have already gone through, Reds get a second chance and go through to the quarterfinals. But the other thing that's quite confusing is if the top spot loses in round 1, they get reseeded to second, but they still get a home semi-final. So if the Brumbies lost in week 1, they still make a semi-final and they still get a home semi-final.
Still in Canberra.
Yeah.
Yep. So you've nailed it, Kirst. The thing, I guess, for those listening, that's why we've made such a big deal. But getting to 4th is really important.
Yeah.
So for those who are fighting around for 6, 5, and 4, you want to get the 4th because it gives you a chance of a second life.
So how do we think the next 2 weeks plays out? Let's take a look at a couple of teams. Brumbies and Crusaders over the weekend.
Yep.
Brumbies are now top of the table.
Yes.
They have a bye this weekend.
Yep.
And then they finish with the Crusaders. The Crusaders have the Highlanders and the Brumbies to finish.
Yep.
So they've got 2 games.
Yep.
The Chiefs have Moana Pasifika and the Highlanders. There are 4 points between the Brumbies and the Chiefs and the Crusaders. How does this next 2 weeks play out?
Well, I'll tell you what, if the Landers produce what they did in the capital...
And upset the Crusaders?
They will win one of those 2 games.
Also you think that the Chiefs and maybe a couple of these other teams are going to rest players over the next 2 weeks?
I think the Chiefs will, the way they roll, there'll be a resting period for the Mackenzies of the world in the next 2 weeks. Absolutely, they will. For the Brumbies, unfortunately, we don't get points in Super Rugby for buys.
That's it.
So they've got to sit back. Look, everyone knows that if the Brumbies can get that top spot, all of a sudden that throws the cat amongst the pigeons, because that means if things go according to plan, then they would potentially host a grand final.
Yep.
However, the Hurricanes, as an example, have gone across to Canberra and won in the fortress that is Bruce Stadium. So, therefore, I don't think it's the be-all and end-all at the moment, but they will be getting geared. They won't be resting anyone for that final week. I don't know if Noah Sears back, but they will just be, everything will be in towards that Crusaders game now.
But the Crusaders let one slip. They beat the Waratahs convincingly in Sydney, but they let a try on the 80th minute, which denied the Crusaders a bonus point, a winning bonus point. If they had that winning bonus point, they would have then been top of the table. And with 2 games still to play, it would have been really hard to peg them back.
Oh, absolutely. It was a really wonderful performance from the Crusaders. By and large, I got to admit, I thought no Taylor.
Yeah.
Because remember, they named the team after we'd done
no
this
Taylor,
podcast.
no Barrett.
No Newell.
No Newell.
No Will Jordan.
Yeah.
And historically, when New Zealand teams have travelled without their hardened All Blacks, their hardened, experienced All Blacks, we've seen it, all the teams, they've suffered. They have not got the job done. Whenever there's been upsets, it's been when Kiwi teams have not taken their hardened All Blacks on away trips. And I honestly thought, deep down, I thought the Waratahs might be smelling blood here, but the way the Crusaders came out, first 10 or 15 minutes, the Waratahs came back a little bit, but that first 10 or 15 minutes, the Crusaders were razor sharp. They, no pun intended there for your former coach either, but they got rid of the Waratahs' thoughts of an upset, and they probably settled themselves down a bit. You know, like I think in Rivers Rehana and the likes played brilliantly well, but for me, it was guys like McNichol.
Yes.
Who was outstanding.
In his 50th.
In his 50th. Jeez, it's been a
long, how many years?
Spaced out 50th. But guys like that, it was great to see Inor running free and in space. Jeez, he's an athlete.
Just stay fit, please.
Stay fit. Wrap yourself up in bubble wrap.
Savea Reese.
Equalled.
TJ Petinata. He's had a dry spell of about 3 months.
Sevea's drawing this out.
He is really drawing it out. He wants it to happen in the grand final.
Well, ironically, I thought you might want to get a move on Savea because Julian Savea had a few chances to score in the weekend. But the thing I really enjoyed about the Crusaders is some of the variations that they're throwing at the moment. They did one, and we're talking about McNichol, is you'd see often in rugby these days, you see the 3 forwards. They call them pods pods for a better word. And then they'll have a back out the back. And the back traditionally just gets the ball going out towards the rest of the back line. And the thing I say that was great about what the Crusaders were doing is everyone has that structure and everyone defends it all week too. So it's pretty easy to defend. But the Crusaders had a couple of little variations, which we've seen with Will Jordan in the past, but they did this one in the weekend where McNichol was in behind them. He goes to go out of the 3, so get the normal standard ball out the open side, which is usually picked up by the defender who's outside the 3. But he's actually just sort of did a little pirouette and just come back in between the 2 and gone straight through. And like from a defensive point of view, seeing that different change of picture just absolutely did the Waratahs over. And you can't really blame them because it's something new. It doesn't get thrown up much. So really, really interesting to see how the Crusaders went about knocking the Waratahs out early, really. And then guys like Rivers Rehana and that really grew into their job. I thought it was a pretty impressive performance. Yep, they'll be annoyed with themselves that they let that bonus point slip and potentially a home advantage through the finals. But all in all, I think if you offered Rob Penny without those players mentioned, you're gunning Waratahs who should have been desperate considering where they were and that I had them making the top 6 in my TRB account. Their desperation wasn't enough. The Crusaders, too good.
A couple of things that got my attention over the last week. And the first is Antoine Dupont, who I now don't think is the world's best player because Ardie Savea is the world's best player.
Geez, you change your tune quickly.
He has bought into an MLR, Major
Yes.
League Rugby franchise in America. He's brought into the LA team that Christian Liliafano's a part of. Now, I don't know if there is anything to this. This is me just making it up.
Yep.
But there is chat that an American side is going to join Super Rugby in the lead up to the 2031 Rugby World Cup. Is it the LA team, which would make sense?
One flight.
One flight and an easy 12-hour flight from both Australia and New Zealand. Anton Dupont has always wanted to play Super Rugby, hasn't he? He goes and plays for his side, and his team that he is now invested in joins Super Rugby.
Well, his mate Intermac has always mentioned it too, hasn't he, in passing
So there's your 9 and 10 at LA.
Not bad. Which one's... Is it... Mars an owner of one too now?
San Diego. The Legion.
Okay. The Legend or Legion?
Legion.
Legion, yes. Yeah, look, I mean, that's obviously the level of cash you need to own your own club. You need to be DuPont or Mar level. But
You could buy Waiuku.
well, no, because they own their own grounds. We're the only club that still owns their own grounds.
Oh, so you actually can't afford it.
No, it's a lot of real estate because there'll be developers.
In Auckland.
There'll be a lot of... Please,
Auckland.
Counties. There's a lot of developers that want to put a lot of sections on there. So, no, I couldn't buy Waikato Rugby Club. But, no, it is fascinating that he's bought it. Great for the MLR just to have a bit of publicity around it. That
Surely he's going to end up playing in this team. Remember when David Beckham bought into the Miami football side?
Yeah, but how old's DuPont?
Yeah, but
He's a long time away from...
he might just do a
jumping across to
1-year
America.
sabbatical for his team.
Yeah,
So
possibly.
he's an investor in it. If he goes and plays there and starts getting people watching on television,
True.
selling merchandise. He's now wearing their jersey around France.
There you go. Smart man.
He's a very smart man.
Yeah.
It all goes back to his back pocket. I reckon he ends up playing for that team. Whether that's a team that comes into Super Rugby, I don't know, but
I still haven't given up hope on the South Africans coming back to us.
yes, I know that. And I know that after last week. Something else. So the Lions. The Lions stories are the stories that just keep on giving.
Yep.
You know how they've got that mascot? They've got the lion mascot. It's like a
Yes.
big teddy.
Yep.
The youngest member of the touring party has to look after that lion mascot throughout the entire 10-week tour or whatever it is. So it's Henry Pollock,
Yes.
who's the young
Outstanding
20-year-old seven from England, youngest member. He's got to look after it. He wants to, because there's fines involved, if you don't turn up with this lion at any time. And obviously the old dogs are all trying to hide it and stitch you up and whatnot because there will be fines in a court session. He wants to sew a little hole, put an ear tag in it. You probably don't know what an ear tag is.
No.
But it connects to your iPhone. So
Oh,
it tells you
yes.
exactly where this thing is at all time and stitch it back up
It's the
again.
new age.
It's the new age, so he can never lose the lion.
What a great character. Don't the Wallabies have something too?
What do they have?
Well, I was
Wally?
a Wallaby. They have a stuffed toy too.
But did you used to have anything like this in any of your teams?
Not with that responsibility. Our thing with Waikato was the bomber jacket,
What's the bomber jacket?
like an old school jacket. A former manager who I will not name, Stu, lost it one year and blamed everyone else, so they had to get a replacement, and it was never the same. But we had a bomber jacket that stretches back to the glory days of Waikato. You're talking Mitchell and Gaddy and Purvis era, and they had a bomber jacket, and it was literally like a bus driver, like the old school bus driver's jacket, if you envision that. But they had the Waikato emblem on it, and that's what got given to the person who was next in line for their maybe 18-game blazer.
Yeah.
And so that was always there, but you always had to leave a gift when you passed it on. And the gift was stupid. Like, guys would fill up the pockets with soap or cream rice or whatever.
Yeah.
But you always had to do something to it and have a story with it until you'd then pass it on. So that's the only thing that sticks out in my mind.
Do you remember who you got the bomber from?
Sosenia Nisi.
What did he leave for you?
He left cream rice in the pockets. Because cream rice was always in the changing room free, so I think you just tip that in and I just put them in. And because you put it on in your nice tie and jacket, and you're about to go out for a night in Victoria Street, Hamilton, and you put your hands in your pockets. And,
There's the cream rice.
There's cream rice, yeah, great start.
Who did you give it to? And what did you leave?
I can't remember. No, I had a story for it because I had it over the off season.
Ah.
So I took it to Fiji with me. So yeah, I had a yarn for the boys in it. Yeah.
You can't share?
No, what happens in the change room stays there.
Okay, well, we'll leave that there then.
Yeah.
The Waikato bomber jacket.
Yeah.
They got lost and replaced.
Yeah. Good on you, Stu.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, we are now going to get into predictions.
Yes.
Actually, no. There's a couple of instant reaction questions that we need to address.
Yep.
One of them has come in. I'm so sorry, but I forgot to write down your name. Question for Beaver. Loving the podcast, loving the insights. Keep it up. Can you run us through how the contracts work and the differences between a New Zealand rugby contract, a Super Rugby contract, and an NPC?
Yeah, so Super Rugby one is your one to the franchise, which is now it's not centralised as such, but essentially your Super Rugby contract is still governed by New Zealand, even though you're contracted to a franchise, and that's what keeps you in New Zealand. Your Super Rugby contract is the binding contract that keeps you a New Zealand rugby player, i.e. eligible and contracted to the All Blacks, etc., etc. Your NPC one is separate, completely separate, and more obviously a lot less in value, and they have obviously decreased as time goes on to reflect the competition and where they can afford to spend the money. And that is literally for 3 or 4 months of the year, that contract. And that realistically, they won't hold you to that. As far as more or less, if you were offered a silly contract in Japan or France and you only had an NPC deal, they won't stand in your way and say, oh, look, no, you got to play for that 3-month contract. You're not going anywhere. So that's a quick summary, I guess.
All Blacks get NPC contracts?
Yep.
So All Blacks are contracted 3 times?
3 times, yep. Yep. Well, you don't actually get technically contracted
but
to the All
it's
Blacks.
weird that the All Blacks get NPC contracts when they don't play.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. The provinces will get reimbursed for that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So they're not actually paying for it.
No. So like Canterbury, for example, aren't forking out
$1 million because they've got
for their 10
All Blacks.
Yeah. No. You get reimbursed from that from the governing body.
Okay. That's interesting. We had another question in here. There was so much chat about 12 and 13s last week.
Yes.
And whether or not Ardie could actually switch into the midfield. But this question, with all this talk...
Every week he's proving it that he probably could.
He can. Hybrid players. How hard is it to transition between 12 and 13? Is there much difference between these positions these days?
A lot of it goes on how your team's going to play. Look, so I can only think of about 2 or 3 that can do both comfortably. And I think, obviously, Leonard Brown is one, maybe to his own detriment as far at times. Goodhue was another one who could bounce between the two comfortably. But I still think they are very specialised. Centre is obviously they're a different physique usually because of they're more in the open. They have to be able to, I guess, be more agile at times as far as defensively goes, because they're the ones. The centre's the toughest place to defend in the back line, and they're the ones that are going to get fixed here, but then because someone's coming down short on them, a block play, as you often see these days, or then they've got to break off and go get the guy that's running out the back of it. So they require great speed, great smarts. Like I can't put Conrad in the speed bracket, but he get great smarts. And so, therefore, and engines, like you think of Conrad Smith, obviously Rico, Anton, Leonard Brown, all these guys, they have massive engines because they're in charge of the D, really. And they've got to be going over here, okay, that's safe over there, then I'm going to go reset the D line on the open side. And they're just working out numbers the whole time. So that's their role. And I still think 12 is physically a bigger man.
So that's still the case?
I still, well, like if I was designing a game plan, I would still want someone, be it my 12 or 13, that's going to get me over the advantage line. So 12 is not necessarily going to be someone who can go play 13. As an example, Quintapaya at the moment, Tavatavanawai, 2 guys who are having great seasons at 12. Could I see them at 13? No. And I mean, could they cover it in a game day 23? Yep. But you couldn't see them wearing the number 13 jersey. For those reasons.
So there is a big difference.
I think there still
two.
is, yeah. When you look at it, I still think there is.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that with us. Predictions, round 15. Guess who's in front? I went 100% last week.
And who did I miss? Just the Blues?
Correct.
Did you go Drua?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was proud of that one. I'll tell you what I did do. financially.
Small margins these days. We've only got 2 rounds to go.
The Highlanders were getting offered a 20-point head start against the Hurricanes.
So you went there.
I took that off you.
So you won.
Yes.
But I won our picks.
You did.
So I'm 1 ahead with 2 rounds to go. Round 15 of Super Rugby, the second to last, the penultimate round,
Yep.
Robin, of Super Rugby. Crusaders, Highlanders.
I'm there.
Oh, you are there in Christchurch.
I'm in Christchurch, which does influence my selection.
Yes, you always pick the Crusaders if you're in Christchurch.
Yep, Christchurch. Crusaders for me.
But you said the Highlanders are going to win one of their last 2.
Yep, they will.
So they're beating the Chiefs. And you'll probably be there in Dunedin too.
No, yes, yes, I am.
He'll change his mind next week, people. It'll be the Crusaders for me in Christchurch. Reds, Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Hurricanes.
Has to be the Hurricanes.
It is. And they jump the Reds on the table, I reckon.
Gets them to
so
fourth.
That gets them to their lucky 4th spot.
Yep.
That's how they do it. They beat the Reds this weekend.
And then they finish with Moana.
Yeah. And Moana beat them and make the playoffs themselves.
Well, if they win this weekend, they're home, aren't they?
If they beat the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Well, here's the next game. Chiefs and Moana Pasifika, the only team in Super Rugby that they have not beaten. They've beaten every single team in Super Rugby. They've beaten all 4 other New Zealand teams this year, except the Chiefs. And remember what happened at Pookie Stadium? The game of 2 halves? They almost overcame the Chiefs.
And remember what I said earlier in the show?
They're resting players.
No, Moana couldn't win a line-out. Couldn't win a kick-off. They've sorted that out now. They're a different team now. From the one that played at Pukekohe on that wonderful night. I think it highlights where they're at. I've had multiple people ring me up this week wanting tickets. They still think I've got ticket access to the Chiefs. Look, the Chiefs, bless them, great franchise. They don't give out free tickets to former players. My friends need to take note. But I will go the Chiefs. That all being said, I will go the Chiefs.
It's really hard to know when the teams haven't been named. Is Damien playing this weekend or not, Beav?
I don't know.
Surely he wouldn't have 2 back-to-back weekends off after a bye.
No.
So I'd have a weekend next week. So he's playing this one.
Yeah, I would probably give him. I'd play him this week.
Honestly, for me, I know that on paper the Chiefs are a much better side, but Moana Pasifika, there's something about that team.
Yep.
There is something about that team. It's early doors in the week. That's why it's so hard to pick it.
The next one's not.
Okay, fine. I'm saying Moana.
There you go.
That's where we differ. Force Waratahs.
Force
for me.
Comfortably.
So we're one different.
While we're on Moana Pasifika, can I just tell you the highlight?
Yes.
My absolute highlight.
Please share.
Of Saturday night's fixture. There was lots of highlights. Obviously, Ardie's performance, phenomenal. 12,000 people, great. But I've often thought that we don't do a great job hyping things up. That's why I love the fact that Hoskins and the Moana are doing their things for tweets and all the rest of it. That walkout is something that I don't reckon I'll forget. And I know they've done it every home game. The
lights dimmed, the smoke.
The Sir Michael
Yeah.
and it is Sir BG too, isn't it?
It is.
Sir Brian opening the doors for Moana to come out and whoever they're playing. But this week, I know it was heightened because of the crowd, the atmosphere, etc. But this week was special because they had those 2 iconic men opening the doors up and standing there, focused, staunch, staring straight into oblivion, was Ardie Savea and Patrick Tuapolotu, two of our modern day versions of great Polynesian rugby players and leaders in our game and community. And there's a bit of steam in the back, and there was no acknowledgement, and they just walked out, and I just thought that is what we needed to see more of.
That's what you want. That's what your 15-year marketing degree wants.
I'm a sucker for a bit of hype, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I could have gone home then.
You were
been happy. But then I'd have left TJ talking to himself the whole night, so I had to stay. But I could have honestly gone home then and just put my feet up and go, that was wicked.
Job done.
Job done.
Well done to you, Moana.
Moana, wonderful.
They're doing things,
yes,
aren't they? The entire organisation, they're doing things.
Yeah. And to
make rugby better.
And the other thing they're doing well at the moment is they've got this corduroy hat at the moment.
I've seen it, the light blue Moana hat.
I need to talk to my friend Kevin Senior and say, all those times I used to catch your passes at counties, I need to get one of those hats.
Why do you need it?
They're cool.
They are cool.
Yeah.
But you're also not cool.
It could make me cool. You imagine me sitting here like this
with your Blue Moana hat on.
Moana corduroy hat on.
Okay, so this is what you want. You wouldn't pick them to beat the Chiefs this weekend or the Blues last
I can't
week,
pick them to beat
but
the
now
Chiefs.
you want one of their cool corduroy hats. You are unbelievable.
Is that too
Try
much?
picking them.
Oh, I've picked them a
Back
lot this
them.
year. I've picked them. They know I've picked them.
If you're going to send anyone the hat, you send it to me. That is the aftermatch, unless you've got anything else to add.
No.
The hype machine is an overdrive. Beaver wants the merchandise.
I love the walkout.
The walkout. You take the hat, I'll take one of those Super Bowl style jerseys that they've got going on.
I haven't seen
Oh,
those.
those are sick.
No, I wouldn't be able to pull that off.
No, you wouldn't.
The hat,
you can't pull that off either.
Give me the hat. I can pull it off.
That is the aftermatch with Kirsten and Beav. Come for the rugby, stay for the aftermatch. Good to have you joining us again. You know what to do. Like and subscribe. Keep commenting. Keep sending us DMs. We love having you all involved in the show.